Another week, and you guys are wondering once again about a TJ Lateef package.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like the players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved.
All right, welcome in Friday mailbag episode of the Locked On Nebraska podcast. I'm Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Connor Happer of 1620 The Zone is with me. We are one day away from Nebraska, Michigan State, 3 p.m. on Saturday, FS1 at Memorial Stadium. The end of a 4-game, over 5-week homestand for Nebraska. This was an extended stay at the home base for the Huskers on the heels of opening essentially at home in Kansas City. So we'll talk about this a lot next week, but when Nebraska heads out on the road a week from now, it's going to seem like foreign territory going to Maryland, first time in a hostile venue, and we're almost to the middle of October.
Yeah, you've done it long enough though, where I would imagine that going on the road will be sort of refreshing to them next week. It's been kind of exhausting over this last month plus.
Playing all these home games.
Yeah, I mean, it's first world problems, I guess, but you only get what the schedule gives to you. So let's get to your questions today. We'll start with Josh in Kenai, Alaska. Checking in.
We've had a question from Josh, and I believe it's Kenai. We don't want to get hit up on the
my bad
from the pronunciation police on the geography. Yes, we've had a question from Josh before.
Okay. Josh is back for more. He says, I saw an ESPN article that rated Dylan Raiola as number 25 among all Power 4 quarterbacks, which I feel is pretty fair. Yes, Bill Connolly did put this together. It included these stats. Average time from snap to throw is 2.89 seconds, which is 108th in the country. 6.2 air yards per attempt, which is the 123rd. And 28% sack to pressure ratio, which is 119th. He's still at 76 completion percent, which is 4th nationally, and Nebraska's offense is 16th in points per drive. So obviously he's doing some things well. While watching the Michigan game, I was far more frustrated with Dylan holding on to the ball far too long, as I was compared to the offensive line allowing pressure. That opinion changed a little bit after listening to multiple bye-week podcasts and getting to rewatch a game, but my gut feeling is that Dylan holds on to the ball too long. Logically, I'm sure the answer is that both are true. The line needs to get better, and Dylan needs to get the ball out. Which do you feel is more important, and which do you feel could it be adjusted or improved upon quicker? Thanks. Love the show. Appreciate all you do. GBR from the Great North. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, the Great North, which doesn't even fit on our U.S. map. We have to go to the world map to get up there. There he is. There's the pin in Alaska. I believe that's Kenai on the pin there.
We'll go with it.
And then there's our U.S. map. We're about a week delayed in having everything updated on the map, but Nathan's continuing to do a great job there. Okay. Yeah. You heard Dylan Raiola this week when he talked to the media on Tuesday say, be careful about putting all of that on the offensive line. And I think what he's saying is some of it belongs to him, to me, to Dylan. And those stats are really interesting. The average time from snap to throw, almost 3 seconds, ranking near the bottom. And we've seen that. We've certainly seen that with Dylan, where it looks like he could get rid of it. And I'm sure he sees it too as he goes through the film. The 28.6% sack to pressure ratio, that speaks to his ability to, one, get rid of the ball and also get out of the pocket. Some quarterbacks are just going to be much better at that. And Dylan can improve some at that, but not, there are some things out of his control. Like he doesn't have the feet of Lamar Jackson. So it's on everybody. It's on the quarterback. It's on the backs to make sure that they're strong in pass protection, and it's on the receivers to get open.
Yeah, I think so too. You can hear me, right? Sorry, I had an audio.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're good. You're good.
All right. There was an audio thing. Somebody else's AirPods connected to the thing during that, so I'm glad that didn't go.
Was it playing The Life of a Showgirl from Taylor Swift?
It probably would have been. So I don't know. I don't know what anybody else heard out there, but
I didn't hear anything.
Good.
Playing everywhere today. That's all I hear.
It definitely is. Yeah, I think as we talked about with Dylan a couple weeks ago, his default, like when things get moving on him a little bit, like he kind of slows down and he's it maybe takes him a little bit longer to sort of process things. He's not a fast twitch type of quarterback. Like he is a processor, like in real time live. And I think that's okay for what they want him to be and for what they want him to do. But I am curious to see what happens coming out of the bye week. And if they, decide to get him moving a little bit faster, get him in a rhythm. I've always thought that he's sort of a rhythm quarterback.
He's Dana's a rhythm play caller.
Yeah. So I think Dylan's absolutely right. Like there is some stuff that is definitely on him. I also think that there's a lot that is exclusive to the Michigan game in terms of how they pressured the passer. So it'll be interesting to see how that all works out coming off of a bye and not playing an opponent with such a good pass rush. I mean, it's a pretty stark difference from week over week now. And Michigan had those great edges. Michigan State, it is one of their biggest problems. They can't rush the passer so far this year.
Okay. From John in Brownwood, Texas, pin it. I don't care if we run again if we win. So he's saying, don't run the ball. Dylan Raiola can shoot the ball out of his rear end if we beat a ranked team.
Wow. That'd be cool.
Maybe we can see a 400-yard passing game with 50 yards rushing. Is that out of the realm of possibility? Seems weird.
No, I think we're overdoing this probably a little bit. Like Nebraska is definitely better at passing the ball than it is at running the ball. It is not like so bad where they have to go, 400 to 50. I mean, that's quite the spread. I wouldn't be like too terribly shocked if Dylan had a high 300-yard passing game at some point. I don't know if it's this weekend with the wind and all that stuff, but Michigan State's defense isn't very windy. So no, they're going to still try to run the ball, and you have to stick to your plan, and hopefully you can get something to click a little bit.
I mean, I know John's way down there in Brownwood, Texas, but this is the Big Ten, and you got to be able to run it. Yes, there are games that you can win if you just rely on the pass, but they're going to run into a game in November or two where they're going to have to run it. That's just life in the Big Ten. I'll say it until I'm proven wrong. From Sam in Cody, Wyoming. With trying to get more efficient in the red zone, do you think having a package for TJ Lateef would be a good option, utilizing his ability to run but also pass, kind of like a Tim Tebow when he was a freshman, but even more polished as a passer? Or does taking Dylan out cause problems?
Well, I think you have several problems. Number one, yes, taking Dylan out is generally not a great thing, but I am willing to admit that there are certain situations in which, Nebraska needs a yard and they could use that extra runner. Like I've said before, I don't think that the person to do that is TJ Lateef. I don't know when TJ Lateef became like Michael Vick.
We saw it against Houston Christian and Akron, guys.
But we saw it, but
I'm agreeing with you. I know.
But Mitch, what? I don't understand what we saw even against Houston Christian that made people think like he's such a good runner. I think he is pretty good. It seems at making a person or two miss in a short area, but come on, what are we doing here? No, there shouldn't be a package for TJ Lateef. And I don't think there will be a package for TJ Lateef. I wouldn't mind seeing Heinrich Harburg down at the 3-yard line and just running him at somebody like a battering ram. I'm fine with that.
It would be Harburg before Lateef. One, he's an experienced player. He's taken snaps in the Big Ten, and he's more physical, not entirely just relying on the ability to make someone miss. TJ Lateef's day will come. It's just not right now in a package at the goal line. Taking your best player off the field in just about any situation is a bad idea.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, let's go to Hugh. After 4 games, I cannot recall Nebraska running a single trick play. I understand that trick plays can and do often backfire, but they can also keep opponents honest by deviating from play calling tendencies. In your opinion, is Holgorsen's offensive philosophy more focused on traditional football strengths over gadget plays? Yes.
You think it is? So I don't know.
I think he's like a super fundamental, like, repeatable type of, let's do the same thing over and over. And then let's add some options once we get to the mastery point,
Yeah, I hadn't thought about this, Hugh. I'm glad you asked this question. And part of this, I think it's a small sample size. And this year, you take Houston Christian and Akron out of it because you're not going to run gadget plays against those teams. When you can score 60 points with the basic offense. The Cincinnati and Michigan games may just have not dictated it. They were close games. Nebraska was somewhat limited in what it was able to do on the offensive side because it wasn't one against Michigan. Running a trick play could have been disastrous because of the way that they were crashing into the backfield. Usually those things take a little more time to set up. And Cincinnati was the season opener, and Nebraska never got comfortable. And some coaches will do these in uncomfortable situations when they're up 3 points or down. I don't know that that's Dana. I think it's got to be the right spot. I'm sure he's had them in his arsenal in the past. I don't recall him. Did Nebraska run anything that was real gadgety in the final few games of the regular season or the bowl game? Am I forgetting something? Like the bowl games are a great time to do gadget plays.
You see a couple, they did the shovel pass that obviously didn't work against Michigan.
Like a flea flicker or a running back pass or something. You have to have the right personnel too. And Harburg is somebody you could incorporate into that. I think Barney can get incorporated into that stuff.
Barney would be the thrower, the alternate thrower, right? High school quarterback, or at least played a little high school quarterback. I think so. Yeah.
We could see him. I mean, consider it's been 2 games this year because the games weeks 2 and 3 don't count like for the potential to run a trick play. So it's been 2 games and maybe it'll show up this week. Maybe they'll do it the first time on the road next week at Maryland. But good question. Glad you brought that up. Let's take a break, come back. Got another good question about the possibility of the NCAA moving to 5 years of eligibility, which seems very real. That's coming up next after this. But we have a word right now from Mazda. This is Mazda's Moving the Game Forward segment, brought to you by those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's also about redefining it. Because these moments do more than win. They push what's possible. They remind us to go that extra yard, shift into that extra gear, keep moving forward. I want to talk about a difference maker for Nebraska this season. It's running back Emmett Johnson, his 17.8 rushing attempts per game. Lead the Big Ten. Johnson is a workhorse for Nebraska. He's shown that no matter what the circumstances, he is set to keep moving forward. Connections like his touchdowns this season help keep fans and players alike moving forward, always chasing the next great moment. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved.
And I want to tell you a little bit about DoorDash. It's almost the weekend, and it's time to look back again and recognize an MVP on who delivered this week, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving money every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. Here is Archie Wilson this week, ladies and gentlemen. He delivered in a big way as the punter, and he might have a big opportunity to deliver this coming weekend as well. When the pressure was on, Archie came through for Nebraska. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, well, he did take those 2 weeks off. This performance is not a fluke. He is on a streak. And just like Archie delivered for Nebraska, DoorDash delivers on your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. You start stacking it up all season long, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday and keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. All right, welcome back. Connor Happer, Mitch Sherman with you here on a Friday. immediately back into your questions on the mailbag. 5-year eligibility clock is the subject from Nick in Colorado Springs. He says, if the NCAA moves to a 5-year eligibility clock, what will we call the 5th year? Great question. We got freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. What are we going with? Super senior, second year senior. Second question is with let's do that first. So that's a different question.
I actually had a question. I actually had a conversation about this with somebody in the Nebraska athletic department. Not because I was like overly concerned, but we were talking about a player who we're talking about. I've mentioned on the show yesterday that I wrote about Virginia Adriano, the Italian Nebraska volleyball player. By the way, Huskers at Penn State tonight at 7:00 on Fox. Don't forget that. And she's listed as a freshman, but she has 3 years of eligibility. So shouldn't she be a sophomore? Like but you don't. But it's weird because it's her first year on campus, so you make her a freshman.
Right. Every SID will approach this differently. Like I've talked to a couple who's like, and this is basically like, how to list them on a roster, right? So the sports information director is in charge of that. I don't think the coaches actually care.
Right.
So it's
the player might have some say.
Yeah. The player might have some say to like how many years do you have left is generally, I think, where it's landed. And for 5th year people, we've had a lot of them over the years because of COVID now. And 6-year people, like they usually just put graduates, GR, assuming that they're graduates and it's taken them a normal 4 years to graduate college, which is not always the case.
Or another way you can do it, and I've seen this on some rosters. I can't remember now where it is, but I've seen this in college on some rosters. Is like maybe Notre Dame does this because Notre Dame didn't typically like recognize red shirts in the past, and they perhaps they do now. They would just call them a first year or a second year or a third year and so on. And then if you're in your 5th year, you're a 5th year. Like that's kind of more what it is anyway, because like we're not talking about academic standing at all. Like some freshmen come in now and they've got 30 credit hours. So they're not a freshman on their transcript, and you're calling them a freshman on the playing field.
There is definitely a growing separation between academia and athletics, that's for sure. And the freshman, sophomore, junior, senior thing has that's from that. So maybe you do go like first year, second year, third year, 4th year, 5th year. It's a good question though. And then the second one from Nick is about wind. How do you expect the wind to affect the offense on Saturday? He says, I'm in a Husker score prediction pool. Would you temper the total score, or is it less of a factor than I'm fearing that it will be?
It could be a factor. 14-7 was the score last year when Nebraska played Rutgers in very similar conditions. I don't foresee that, but it could be a factor. When I made my prediction yesterday on the show, I said 30-21 Nebraska. I shaved off a few points because of what the wind might do.
Yeah, I don't think you want to like overdo it. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit more limited through the air. With that being said, like Nebraska hasn't been a huge deep ball team. Michigan State has the potential to be. They have a couple guys that could take the top off. So yeah, it'll have an effect. I just don't like. I don't know. Yeah, I'd probably shave off a couple points off the top if I were you. But I don't know. Just go with your gut on that one.
Yeah. All right, Vince and Napa. Happy Friday, fellas. Thanks for letting me be a part of this program. Absolutely. Of course, Vince. Now that the bye week has passed and Nebraska is 1/3 of the way through the regular season, what issues are fixable at the present time, and what issues are simply personnel that they will have to work around? Let's go with like one on each, because we could probably do a whole show on this topic. So give me something that you think is fixable for Nebraska. Like they can fix it. Not necessarily by having to change personnel.
Yeah, I think on a play-by-play basis, getting gashed for long runs in the run game defensively, that's the coaches will all tell you that that's fixable. Now, if you stretch it out over a season or over the remaining 8 games, you just have to like factor it in because of what Nebraska's doing up front on defense, right? Like it's going to happen, but like on a play-by-play basis, you're as a D coordinator, as a head coach, you're thinking, well, if we're in the right spot, then that's not going to happen. But obviously, if you stretch it out over 600 plays, then you're going to be in the wrong spot a couple times. So that's one thing you have to live with a little bit, but Nebraska can control it on a play-by-play basis. Not that you're not going to be, a little deficient against the run game, but I think you could prevent the 75 yarders. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if everybody's doing their job on defense, and you're going to every once in a while. I mean, in a season, you're going to run into a situation where Justice Haynes just makes a move and he's better than what you have on defense. But that shouldn't be that shouldn't be a weekly thing. If you do your job and play defense the way it's drawn up, you should shut down just about all of those plays before they get to the explosive category. Here's something that I think, I'll stay on the defensive side, that I think is more just personnel. It's getting an effective, consistent pass rush without blitzing. Like, I think Nebraska, with the personnel it has on the defensive line and the defensive side, is maybe a year away. Like, I had hoped and I had high hopes going into the year that at some point this season, Keona Davis and Williams Winery would develop and turn into the players who were just a fearsome duo coming off of those edges. And I think those guys are going to have their moments, and they have to some degree. Winery has flashed a couple of times, but I think it's next year before it's just like, line these guys up. Like Rhule has talked endlessly about Jayshon Barham, the Michigan pass rusher who hurt Nebraska. Like, both of those players can be that kind of guy, but I don't think it's going to be this year. I think they need another offseason of getting ready. They can be effective, but for Nebraska to consistently get pressure, I think it's going to have to do it with more than a 3 or 4 man rush.
Yeah, I think really good question, Vince. Like, that's basically what Nebraska has been trying to figure out in the bye week. How much of it can we control? How much of it do we have to scheme around going forward because it's just a weakness that we have? So we'll find out answers to that question in about 24 hours now. Here's Dylan in Omaha. Do y'all believe that Nebraska's pass defense is really one of the best in the country, or is it a reflection of a lackluster run defense that offenses don't need to pass against to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, if you can go for 200 plus yards in the run game as an offense, then yeah, you don't need to throw it as much. I think that Nebraska's pass defense is real. I think it's good. I don't think it's like far and away the best in the country, like some of the statistics indicate. And yes, that's a reflection, as I see it, of the Huskers' lack of ability to shut down big plays in the run game.
Yeah, I if you look at like what they're getting thrown at them on a per game basis, Nebraska sees so far this year, small sample size still, they see some of the fewest amount of pass plays in the country. So 24 per game, which is 3rd lowest in the country at this point. So,
and that's not because teams are scared to throw it against them.
Right. It's easier to defend if you see less of it because there's less chance that you're going to break on the back end. But that'll spread out throughout the year. I do believe in Nebraska's ability to cover. We thought the defensive secondary was going to be a strong point this year, and I think it is. Is it the best in the country? I don't think so, but there's only a couple ways to measure it, and Nebraska's the best right now, and basically the primary way to measure it, passing yards against.
Yeah, they're covering well in man, and that was a big area that needed improvement after last year. All right, one more before the next break from Gigi, our friend in Las Cruces. Hello, Gigi. Great shows this week. Love the crossover event. While both the offensive and defensive lines were exposed by Michigan, our question here from the group in Las Cruces is around the offensive line. In the spring, Rocco Spindler talked about the offensive line aiming to win the Joe Moore Award. So is the O-line performance versus Michigan an anomaly? Or is that what we should expect for the rest of the season since Michigan gave away the key? Nebraska was never going to be the Joe Moore Award winner. I mean, it's great for Rocco to have aimed high and to have put that out there. We want to be the best offensive line in the country. That wasn't in the cards for this group. I think he genuinely believed, and still does, that Nebraska can have a good offensive line.
I do think Nebraska has a fine offensive line. Like, yeah. I still believe that. So
have pieces.
There are certain games that are going to be tough matchups, guys that have players like that. Nebraska's tackles are still a weakness that they're trying to figure out. I still think their interior offensive line is pretty dang good, which makes it a little bit more questionable maybe that you aren't able to run the ball as well as you want to. So we'll see how that all works out. I think Nebraska's offensive line is very serviceable for what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Bad game against Michigan. Let's see how it goes from here. All right. 2 questions coming in from Southern California when we come back. That is next. Right now, we got a new sponsor on the Locked On Podcast Network, Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, the program powered by Peloton IQ. So if you've done the Peloton bike rides, as I certainly have, you can up your game and move up to the Peloton IQ. It is their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance in endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you play, stay, and plan to be motivated, to reach your peak performance. The Peloton IQ system offers real strength coaching. It tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. And the swivel screen on this machine is a game changer. You can go from running on the tread plus to strength training without missing a beat. The personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and your energy level every week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. Back with you to close out this Friday mailbag episode of the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Mitch Sherman, Connor Happer. We go to Andrew in Southern California. All right, Andrew. He says, so you need a pin on your map from SoCal. I was at the Nebraska-Michigan game rooting on the Huskers last week. Hate to be a spoiler for all of the Husker military lovers, of which there are no doubt many, but have we not had enough of the fighter jet flyovers?
Wow.
I know. This is crazy. Mitch said this week on the Locked On pod that we'd see truth from fiction determined. I'd like to put to rest that the military has any place with the flyovers at Husker games. Let sports be sports.
Wow. Flyovers are awesome.
I've never heard this take. I've never heard this take.
I wonder, I don't think I've ever heard this either. I've never heard somebody say, like, I'm sick of them. I think we could just retire them now. Every time.
Is this like the cost issue, like a taxpayer thing? Like, I mean, it's not cheap to fly a stealth bomber.
It's not cheap to do anything. It's to put on a
right.
Put on a
don't do the drone show. Don't do the fireworks. Like I don't know. I don't believe that there are a lot of people in this camp. The flyovers are just flat out cool.
Yeah. I am pro cool things. Keep doing cool things.
And it does. Yeah, that's appreciate your respect your opinion for sure. But I'm not gonna campaign to get rid of the flyovers.
Yep, I'm in. I'm still in on the flyovers. Let's go back to Southern California. Here's Tyler, who left a comment on our YouTube this week. Holgorsen said this week was some of the most physical practices or physicality with how they approach the bye week. How does that work, and what makes it so intense versus a regular week, and why wouldn't regular weeks be attacking their practices the same way? Shouldn't all practices be pushing so that games feel easy, like they talked about in the 90s? It's a good question, Tyler. Yeah. It is.
Yeah. And I thought, all right, here we go again. When Dana started talking about the physicality in practice this week, he hasn't done it before, and so it's not his fault, but past iterations of him, people in his position and assistant coaches at Nebraska, players at Nebraska have talked in the past about how great practice was, or some touchdown run that a player had in practice. And if you're winning 13 games a year, like, that's all fine and it sounds great, and you get real happy about it. But if you're winning 6 games a year or 5 games a year, it rings a little bit hollow. So take it for what it's worth. Take it with a grain of salt. Understand that this is a new This is Dana Holgorsen saying it, not Sean Watson. So great. Let's see it on Saturday.
Here's how I'd explain it. I think Holgorsen was talking about physicality in the cut because he said the line of like, we turned on the tape of them and we kind of had to, they showed us how it was done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was an element of what Nebraska was doing that just wasn't, it wasn't caught up to Big Ten quite level yet because they hadn't seen that, or at least they hadn't seen that in several weeks since the Kansas City opener against Cincinnati. So like, I think they probably got a little bit of a jolt seeing a team play as physical as Michigan does. And now they kind of know what needs to happen both in the week and during the game in order to compete from a physicality standpoint in the league. Like, I don't think it's like a effort thing. People will hear that and they'll be like, well, why are they not practicing hard all the time? It's just, you don't know it. You don't know what it's like until you see it. You don't know game speed until you do it. So I think that's basically what Holgorsen was talking about.
Yeah. Let's go. We have 2 questions that we can connect together here so we can get through and finish this thing. First from Greg in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. He says, hi, fellas. If James Franklin is the conservative coach and Curt Cignetti is the high-risk coach, where does Matt Rhule fall in that spectrum? And then from Bill in Minden, Nevada, who is worse at winning games against top 25 teams, Matt Rhule or James Franklin? So Franklin's problem is against top 10 teams, which bit him again last week. He's 4-21 in his career against the top 10 teams. And both Rhule and Nebraska in the past decade have ugly records, period, against ranked teams. So
I think Rhule on the sliding scale is a little closer to Cignetti than Franklin, but like Rhule also has some Franklin in the sense that like his true style of football, his true preferred style of football is a little slower and plodding and 17-16 as he's talked about before. But like in these situations where it's like, it's 4th and short, like he's kind of a go for it guy. So he's interesting in that way. He might be sitting like right in the middle, to be honest with you.
I think that's what he strives for. Like, I think that's what he views as the goal, is to not be conservative and also not be unnecessarily high risk.
Yeah.
Now it can depend on the personnel. It can depend on the opponent. It can depend on the weather conditions. It can depend on the place in your season. Like, all of that stuff factors in.
Lane in Iowa Park, Texas. What is Malcolm Hartzog's status and will he play on Saturday?
Yeah, he was listed as doubtful by Rhule on Monday. He said that he would not rule him out. I don't think we're going to see him. And I think it's starting to become a question of whether we're going to see him again this year. I don't think they're taking too much into account the redshirt thing, just because we had the question earlier about the 5 years of eligibility, which would render obsolete redshirts. If Hartzog is 100% and ready to go and can play in November, I believe they will play him. Just not sure that's going to happen. Like, it seems to be a lingering thing where it might take more rest than they were willing to want to say at the beginning. So it's not trending in the right direction there.
That's basically how I understand the situation as well. I do not expect to see him on Saturday, and at the soonest it's going to be a couple more weeks, I would think. Let's go to Mike in Bossier City, Louisiana. I have a tendency to be a little harsh sometimes in my comments. It's only because I'm extremely arrogant and also usually right, which brings me to my question. What is, and obviously you could edit this on air for appropriateness, the rudest comment or email that either of you have received for the Locked On Nebraska podcast?
We generally get good comments. Like, sometimes often we talk about how amazed we are to run into people out at various sporting venues or non-sporting venues who recognize us only because we do the Locked On Nebraska podcast and not the way we spend the other 40 hours plus of our week doing the day job stuff. I don't know. Like, as far as the YouTube comments and things like that go, when it gets like it down in the mud, I turn it off. I tune it out. So sorry, all of you out there who are insulting us in the comments. Like, I kind of don't read it. I look for the good comments. I look for the constructive comments.
It can get pretty pretty rude, I guess, at times, but I don't know. It doesn't, I try not to let any of that stuff bother me. Like, you hear it, but whatever.
We've been doing this for a while, like on your radio, on your medium in radio, and in mine in print. And so the stuff where people want to rain down on your parade, it's not a new thing with this podcast, but 90% of it is all good. And we love all the listeners and viewers for it.
Yeah, I wish I was a more confrontational person. I'm not. Otherwise, I'd be back in the comments yelling at people. But
I don't get in the comments. I sometimes, just depending on how I feel, I will get confrontational on Twitter. But it's like once a month kind of thing. Like, hey, I'm just feeling like it today, so I'm going to go after somebody who made a rude comment. And that, to me, that's just fun.
Last question from Patrick in Pilger. This Jonathan Smith-led Michigan State team has a good balance and fluidity to its offense. What kind of challenges will the Spartan offense present the Blackshirts?
Challenges?
Fluidness.
I don't know. That's a reference to something. I'm not sure what, but it's something. This is a real question. Patrick, are you asking us a question? What type of challenges will the Spartans present the Blackshirts? Aiden Childs, he's going to be out there. He's a dynamic playmaker. I think he has a really good, I feel stupid answering this question. He has a really good feel for when to run and when to stay in the pocket. And we talked about Dylan holding the ball too long. I don't think that's really Childs' problem. He's going to take off and he's going to get yards when things start to break down for him in the backfield. So that is a challenge for the Blackshirts for sure.
In reality, like, he is a pretty fluid player. Like, he is a pretty smooth operator. So I think Childs is a pretty significant guy to sort of mark. Also, he's the quarterback. I think their wide receivers are legit. Marsh and Kelly are really good. Specifically Marsh, who's been a little banged up. So Nebraska will have to sort of zone in on those guys. But yeah, there is an element of fluidness to Michigan State's offense for sure.
Nick Marsh, 6'3", good player, name to know for tomorrow at Memorial Stadium. All right, that's a great way to end the program today. Thank you for listening. Thanks for liking the podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on all the audio platforms. Thanks for all you do to help make this go for us. It's another big moment for Locked On college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV present the College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll, Gary Patterson, Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts help make that show work. It's a college football preview that only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV.